Welcome to a video for Control-C Hybrid Mix Lab and associated courses and setting it up for immersive mixing and immersive monitoring. This is a video that's going to help you be able to listen to Atmos, 712, 714, and Apple Spatial Audio. So you may have seen this stuff on other videos, but we got to do the same process. We need to configure the computer so two particular applications auto launch every time you sign into your user. Go up to the Apple, go up to System Settings, and it's hard to find, so I would just type it in login for login items. When login items pop up, select it. And what you need to do in your user is make sure that these two programs automatically launch every time you boot the computer. It's DADMan and WS Control App. Hit the little plus button and go find DADMan in the Applications folder. So the easy way to do it here is go to Applications, then hit the letter D, find DADMan, and open, put it in there. Repeat the same process for WS Control App. Hit the W, go down a couple, find it, add it. I think that will work. Either way, you're going to do a couple other things regarding this process. I like to just open any old folder, go to Applications, find DADMan, and drag it down to the dock. And you may put the dock here, you may put the dock on the side, it doesn't matter where the dock is, but have it in here so that you can get to it easily and you need it running all the time in this room. And WS Control App, you also need running all the time, so I like to drag that down to the desktop as well. To the dock. Once it's there, we're going to start with WS Control App and get it booted. Which one is it? It's that one. And I already have it booted because I logged in and it was auto-launched like I want it to. And it shows up here. Here it is in the upper corner. And, sorry, it's not that app. It's that app. And if it's all happy and hunky-dory, it will see the S6 master module and everything will be happy. And you do want to set auto-launch apps. Set WS Control to auto launch, and then you'll have to do it again and go back in again and set the matrix, which is DADMan, to auto launch. And so this is just a redundant way of auto launching those apps. And then when you log out and log back in, those apps will load. DADMan, let's get into DADMan for a moment. So DADMan is how in this room you control the matrix. The matrix is the audio interface down here at the bottom. We use it for both stereo and immersive monitoring. And heads up, in this room, when we're doing immersive, we will not be using this thing. This thing is only used for stereo, so be sure to turn off and turn down all speakers. You absolutely do not want to have the stereo speakers functioning at the same time you're doing immersive monitoring. Okay, cool. So back over to Pro Tools. Not Pro Tools, but DADMan. So I've made this easy for you. There's a lot to set up. Luckily, it's very simple. I've made a folder here in the Studio C drive called DADMan files, and in it there's a couple folders. There's a folder for immersive speakers at wall position, and stereo. Now, stereo is for stereo. You're not doing stereo in this video. But do note over here, there are two positions for the speakers. When all of the class is going to be doing immersive, we'll probably move them out away from the wall, and they've been marked on the floor where they're supposed to be. But at other times, you might come in here to work, and the speakers have been moved over closer to the wall, and they'll be marked there on the floor. And you want a different time alignment, so that's what those presets are for. So depending on where the speakers are, you're going to either open the at-wall position or the normal one, which is out in the room. So this particular DADMan files folder, if another student corrupts these files and messes with them and they're not working and you're having issues, one troubleshooting solution for you will be to go to Canvas and download a fresh set of these. And I recommend you do that. You download your own set of files for the configuration of DADMan, so you have them on hand, and they're in Canvas. But either way, let's get DADMan open and load. Right now the speakers are out away from the wall, so we're going to open, file, open, and I'm going to go to that folder, which is DADMan files on the Studio C drive. I'm going to open up the immersive folder because the speaker's away from the walls, and I'm going to open the only file it will let me open, which is this configuration here. I'm going to open it, and this configures the interface for surround sound. and Atmos and all that, and 712 and 714. And next, I'm going to open a profile. This is very important. This is how the S6 gets in the game. Go to S6, and the other file that a moment ago wouldn't open, the immersive profile, open that up. And this configures DADMan to talk to the S6 console, which is kind of cool. So we are kind of in the game here. How you're going to, let's come over here. Next thing to do. As I mentioned, we're not using that. You are going to need a minimum of 12, the 12 outputs from the matrix patched in over here. It's hard to see underneath it, but it's labeled immersive speakers in, and it's just 1-to-1. There's no crazy cross patches. It's just, you can do this with your mind. You just go 1-to-1, 2-to-2, 3-to-3. But these first 12 are mandatory. This is how you get to the 12 loudspeakers surrounding us. And at this point, a couple other things to mention. I want to make sure we're going to be up here. Sorry, I'm kind of figuring this out. On the S6, over here, whoop, S6 home monitoring. So home key monitoring, this is important. You've got two major selections that need to be done. When it's on Mac, it's actually monitoring Pro Tools. So maybe I'll rename that Pro Tools. That might make more sense. But that is monitoring Pro Tools input. When you click on receiver, that is going to monitor from the this whole monstrosity, which is both a Blu-ray and an Apple TV, and I'll get to that in a moment. One more thing to show you on the S6. This is going to be your monitor controller, and you want to make sure the cut light works. If it doesn't, sometimes I will exit out of DADMan and maybe go to Pro Tools and go back and that kind of thing. Sometimes that will reset it. If cut works, it's muting. Pressing the knob also mutes it. If this is working, it should be working. This is your volume knob. Do note right now, when Pro Tools isn't open, this is the same as that, but I wouldn't rely on that. This is your main monitor pot. If you've picked Mac or receiver, you'll get some audio, Pro Tools or receiver. Now, the receiver. Why is the receiver so important? Because this is how you can listen to Apple Spatial Audio Immersive. So let's get the steps down for that. Let's turn on the awesome receiver. And this thing is pretty simple. It defaults to a level of -6. You can leave it at that, and you don't have to mess with the volume control. Just use the S6. Picking your inputs, there's an input button here. Click that. You either have Blu-ray, or the other one in this room that we're using is Apple TV. When you've picked it, hit select. Turning on the Blu-ray is pretty easy. Turn on the power. There is a Sony remote for figuring out your Blu-ray. And right now we're doing Apple TV. So the next thing is how to do the TV. Get a Samsung remote. And watch what I'm doing here. This is how you do it in this room. Put the remote right underneath the Samsung label. Turn on the power. And I think, what is it? HDMI 2 is the one that talks to the Apple TV. I'm now going to turn on, that is the Apple TV there. We're going to use the Apple TV remote. I guess you're looking at that screen at this point. And at this point, you're probably smart enough to figure this out. But learn how to navigate Apple TV on your own. If this is your first time doing this, find something that's spatial audio in Apple Music. For example, this spatial audio playlist. Press play, and we're now going to listen to Wham! And hopefully we get sound. No promises here, but I am getting sound, and I'm getting it immersive around me, and I have a control with the S6. So there you go. This entire video has showed you how to set up monitoring for both Atmos, spatial audio, and 712, 714 here at NESCOM.